Home Again puts us well over the midpoint of the season, and it also gives us some much-needed lore about the Ewings and the Southworths.
I'm just somebody Ellie knew a long time ago. You her son?
Yes, I am.
Damn it, she did it. When I read she'd married that hard-nosed wildcatter, I didn't want to believe it.
Sue Ellen and Ellie are planning the baby's nursery. Sue Ellen gets in a clever dig for the audience as Ellie says that the baby will be shy if he's anything like JR, and Sue Ellen says she has a feeling he'll be lively. Ellie, of course, is still in the dark about the paternity question. Ellie ends with a rare, for her, sex joke.
He's not shy anymore, is he?
Obviously.
Miss Ellie?
Elsewhere, a young woman and an older mystery man receive a painting of the old Southfork homestead. The quality of the painting seems to set off the man, and he says he'll give it to Ellie Ewing in person. Ray approaches Jock and tells him that one of the ranch hands saw some vehicles on Section 40 a few weeks prior. This is a follow-up to Fallen Idol, where Jeb Ames demanded his own geologist confirm that there is oil under Southfork soil.
I want you to put this place back together just the way you found it. I don't want there to be a trace of you ever having been here.
The hand confirms that it was a tanker that he saw, and Ray spies some crude oil bubbling up. They confirm that someone has been messing with the well. Our mystery couple shows up at Southfork and meets Bobby Ewing. The man gets angry at Bobby's mere existence and storms out.
Be a little careful talking about my daddy that way in his own house.
His house? Yeah, I suppose it is.
Sue Ellen calls Cliff's office and asks what color he wants the nursery to be. Cliff is a little wigged out by the office call and his frosty tour.
I cannot have you calling like this.
Well, I'm sorry. I can't help wanting to share.
JR suggests that Section 40 was damaged by vandals and promises to investigate. Bobby delivers the painting to Ellie, and right on cue, the man from earlier comes through the front door.
Garrison.
It turns out that the man is Ellie's brother Garrison, the namesake of Gary Ewing. Garrison was thought lost at sea, and he was so sick of ranch life during the Great Depression that he decided to stay dead instead of returning home. Ellie rightly points out that it was a cruel decision, before finally welcoming him home. Garrison, who is a friend of Digger Barnes, is amused that Pamela married Bobby.
I'm Pamela Ewing, Bobby's wife,
Oh,
and Digger's daughter.
I bet you choked on that one, Jock.
Sue Ellen chokes on her drink when Garrison asks if they made Digger a grandfather yet.
Have you made Digger a granddaddy yet?
It's hard to do a quality spit take, but damned if she didn't pull it off with gusto. Garrison says he missed the ranch and wanted to see it again. He mentions his friend, Kathy, which is a little vague. JR immediately becomes suspicious of Garrison's motives, thinking he's come to claim Southfork as his own. Jock is also suspicious, but he says that they'll handle it. Jock even tells Ellie that he thinks Garrison is sniffing around for something that doesn't belong to him.
I've seen a lot of men sniffing around, hungering for something that didn't belong to them. Garrison has that look.
JR finds Ray and tries to steer him clear of the Section 40 oil conspiracy.
You have a mechanic take a look at all the trucks, all right? And in future, if you want to know about oil, you just come to old JR, all right?
This is an uncharacteristically clumsy moment for JR. It practically lets Ray know that JR is somehow responsible. Ray shows up at a roughneck bar and starts poking around about Southfork. Ellie is puzzled about why Garrison let everyone think he was dead when he could have just had Southfork. Garrison says he knew that Jock had the money to save the ranch and that Ellie wanted a family. And it worked out for everyone in the long run. Garrison is proud when he finds out that Ellie named a son after him, but he says that he won't be around long enough to meet him. Ellie calls a meeting of the Ewing men and tells them that she wants Garrison to have the ranch. It was left to him in their father's will, but Garrison was thought dead, so Ellie received the ranch. Both Jock and JR point out that Garrison would have lost the ranch without Jock's money, but she's not having it.
It was my daddy's wish that Garrison have the ranch.
Jock pulls the patriarchy card, which triggers an icy retort from Ellie.
I am still the head of this household.
I've asked Garrison and Kathy for lunch tomorrow. Do I need your permission for that?
JR, always thinking the worst, says that Kathy is the reason that Garrison has returned for the ranch. Bobby says they shouldn't jump to conclusions, but he's worried too. He confides in Pam that the Ewings and the Southworths used to feud. JR puts a private investigator on the case to dig up some dirt. He also isolates Kathy and tries to suss out her influence on Garrison. He accuses her of being a gold digger and she storms off.
I thought it was a little scheme on your part to marry a rich old guy and grab yourself a nice chunk of Texas landscape.
When Garrison finds out about how Kathy was treated, he promises to fight Jock and JR for the land.
Garrison, wait!
No, you married a Ewing. You've got to put up with him. I don't.
Of course, it's up to Pam and Bobby, the only two people who seem to talk about things, to go to Garrison and work things out.
I am not Garrison's lover, as you all seem to think. I'm his nurse.
Kathy reveals that Garrison is terminally ill and has come home to die. Ellie and Garrison make peace, and Garrison agrees to return to Southfork. We get a nice coda with Garrison and Ellie touring the ranch.
Hey! It's good to be home!
Home Again is a sweet and sentimental departure from the last episode, and this rounds out a triptych of episodes that were all over the place tonally. From the maudlin tale of Guzzler Bennett and Fallen Idol to the Starsky and Hutch-style antics in Kidnapped, now back to the sentimental love of the land story. The series still seemed to be bouncing around trying to reel in as many different types of audiences as possible. Man, the YouTube algorithm really wouldn't like that. That's not to say that this is a bad episode. In fact, it's one of my favorite one-offs. We never meet Old Man Southworth in the original series, although his shadow looms over Southfork like a specter. This allows Garrison to act as a substitute for his father to sort of shade in the lines of that character. It's a neat authorial trick that lets us get to know a character without even having to see him on screen. As usual, some of the best Dallas episodes are the ones where the presence of one character brings out the essence of others, or better yet, forces them to evolve in some way. Sue Ellen says in Season 3 that she was content to live life as JR's trophy until Pamela moved in and showed her that a woman could be valued by her husband. It's not that hard to imagine Ellie's willfulness in this episode being similarly influenced by Pam's independence. Of course, Ellie always had a determined streak, but she also just accepted traditional gender roles, and we also learn married as much out of necessity as love. So she was more resigned to accept Jock as head of the family. So with Pam moving in and stressing that her marriage is a 50-50 partnership in spite of Bobby's money, Pam becomes a sort of role model for all of the women of Southfork.
We didn't settle anything. You gave me your opinion.
Sue Ellen changes, Lucy balances her anger at what happened to her alcoholic father with a healthier behavior and choices. Although, not this season, but later on. And Ellie becomes more active in politics and business decisions. Garrison is never really revisited after this, which is unfortunate. He could have been a pretty decent foil for JR and Jock, but as a character, he did serve his purpose.
You've trained this one well, Jock. He opens his mouth, I can almost see dollar signs rolling out.
Home Again is an episode that is sweet despite the amount of acrimony on display, and it does all of the best things that an old-fashioned pot boiler should do.